All right, I thought I'd do another video. I know some of you were in class already, but for those of you that either missed that class when I demonstrated the sketching, or if you just wanted to go back and look again to get some ideas, I'll just do this real quickly for you, and then you can go off and do your own. So you were supposed to get 3 items from the kitchen, kitchen tools, that you could sketch. And remember that what I said to you was grab a item that is interesting, not too complicated, but also not too simple. You can find that sometimes the simpler things are actually the more difficult ones to render in an interesting way. So it's always good to pick something that is simple in shape, but maybe has some interesting things like this does here with these cutouts. You've got some different shapes going on in here as well. So for those of you who don't know, this is an apple core and cutter. So you actually put the apple underneath here, slam this down on top of it. The core goes in the middle here and gets separated, and then you've got these nice wedges to eat your apples with. So just so you know what that is. Okay, so one thing I do tell my beginning drawers is sometimes it's very difficult when you're first learning how to draw and you're given a big white piece of paper and you're not quite sure where to put things, how big to do it. So by making an area that you can draw in, which I've just done now, helps you to sort of locate it a little bit better, and then you know that you're drawing right within the confines of that shape. So I drew a rectangle here because if I was to draw a box around it, it would be a rectangle. It wouldn't be a square. And so that's the way why I drew the rectangle. The next thing I do is I look for simple shapes. Now, what I'm showing you today is the way I approach things. If you decide at some point that you've got a different way of doing it, that's okay. I'm going to show you this way. If it helps you, great. If you've got a better way of doing it, then go ahead and do that as well. So like I said, I look for the simple shapes. When I look at this, I'm seeing several simple shapes. First, I'm seeing an oval. So I'm just going to put a little bit of an oval here. Now, the shape is not exactly an oval. Again, what I'm finding is simple shapes. So shapes that I could fit within the shape that I'm seeing. So I'm going to do my little oval here. Notice that I've got a lot of lines. I'm not drawing a definite line here. I'm not doing it very, very dark because I don't know exactly where everything's going to go. And I want to be able to erase it. So you're going to be using very light lines here. The other thing I see is a circle inside here. So I go around a couple times to get that circle in there. I'm seeing another circle inside the middle here somewhere. And then I'm also seeing some triangles. These are easy to draw because they're pretty much going through the center one way, the other way, and then you're subdividing that on a diagonal. So this is basically what I'm seeing here. This is a very simplified form of what I'm seeing. And again, I'm not doing anything too distinct or too dark at this time. Once I have my simple shapes, now I go back and I look more closely at what it is I'm actually seeing. It's very important that you're looking at this the entirety of the time you're drawing it. You just don't look at it, say, okay, I got it, and then go to your drawing and forget about what you've seen. You want to be able to continuously look back at this to make sure you're doing the right thing. One of the things I say to everyone in my class is, draw what you see, not what you know. And you'll probably hear me say that oftentimes because it's true. A lot of times people will look at something and they'll say, okay, it's a house, and then they sit down, they draw a house, never to look back at it again, which is a really big mistake because sometimes what you're seeing is not what you're drawing. So you want to be able to make sure that that's what's going on here. All right. Once I have this simple drawing, now I'm going to go in and I'm going to look more closely at what I'm drawing. One thing I wanted you to note is that the camera is straight up and down here. I'm going to be sitting down here, so my eye level is going to be a little bit different. I'm actually seeing more of the inside here, this inside edge. I'm seeing some shadows that are more here than they are over here. I'm seeing actually the bottom of this, which you can't see at all from where we are. So my drawing is going to look a little bit different from what you're seeing here, only because of my viewpoint. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and start with the top here. This is the edge of it, comes down around here somewhere. And again, I'm not drawing my line as a definite line at this point. I'm still not doing that because I know that I'm going to have to go back and I'm going to have to change some things around. I'm just trying to get a better feel for what it is I'm seeing. Okay, back up to the top here just to save some time. I'm drawing this other line here. That is my area right here. Okay, that's what I'm seeing right there. That is the top of this apple core. I'm also seeing the inside. So I'm going to put the inside here as well. Now the inside, let me just get this outside one here a little bit darker so you can see it. It comes around this way, and then at some point from where I'm sitting it disappears. I'm not seeing much further than that. Then this sort of takes over. And the same thing is over here. And it's all going to depend on where you're sitting. If you're sitting directly in front of it, if you're sitting off to the side, all that's going to matter. So here is what I'm seeing as far as the outside here, the inside, and now we've got these spokes. Now the spokes are attached to the top here. And this one is pretty straight. I'm not seeing a lot of the side in that. I've got this one that's coming down this way. I've got this one that's coming this way. I've got this one that's coming this way. Now the interesting thing that we're going to get here also is, here's this drawing over here. When I get around to here, I'm actually seeing the bottom edge of this. It's coming around this way, it's going this way, and then up here I'm seeing the inside. I've got my little eraser here. Let me just get this out of here so that doesn't confuse you. And then I've got this piece here, which is similar to the one up here. There's not much area of that because I'm looking almost down on that one. This one comes to the side a little bit and down the edge there. And this one on the side here I'm seeing is probably the fattest one. I like to keep it lined up with the other one. Remember, it's coming all the way to the top. So this you're not going to see because that's metal. And then there's this piece here that comes down over here. Now again, just because I've got this drawn doesn't mean that it's exactly where I want everything. I'm still working on getting things situated. But for the purpose of not spending too much time, I wanted to move on. This is actually not round enough for me either, so that'll probably be extended out a little bit. I want to just talk to you a little bit about the next part of it. What this could be considered is a contour line drawing, so it's just lines that define your shape. What we're moving into in this sketch is starting to use value, and value is how light and dark things are, and that gives it a more three-dimensional feel by using value, lights and darks, shadows, and we have to compare them. Now I'm not pressing as hard on this inside because when I look at it, the top here is much darker than in here. So I'm scaling back on it. I could go back and make this darker. I could make this darker. I'm just starting out trying to lay some differences of values in. This comes down here. There's almost like this area of dark here, and this is a little bit lighter. Now, in the classroom I have blending tools that you can use. It's really paper that's just rolled up. It's actually like newspaper print that's rolled up. Hopefully I can get some of those to you as well. For now I'm just using my finger, but it makes the finger really dirty. And if you have very oily skin, if you have a lot of oil in your skin, it's probably not a good idea to do this. Maybe use a tissue, because what you'll find is it'll actually stain the paper. I have extremely dry skin, which is not a good thing, but it's good for doing this. Okay, the other thing I want to show you, and we just keep going around and doing this, and always being cognizant of your difference in value. Compare one area to the other. There's also a shadow in here. From where I'm sitting, the shadow is along here. And that's actually on the paper. The shadow is in here. So that also has some value to it. It's probably not as dark as the sides, but you see when I go in like this, it becomes almost the same value as that. So now maybe I have to go in here and make this a little darker. And when I make that a little darker, well, now maybe I have to go back in and make this a little darker too. So I'll go and I'll press a little bit harder. I'm trying to use as much of the side of the pencil as I can. Sometimes I even draw this way. You don't want to be using a mechanical pencil for this, because if you use a mechanical pencil, they're very pointy. It actually makes little grooves in the paper, and then that gets very difficult when you go to blend. It's very difficult to blend when you've got these grooves that the graphite settles into. I'm seeing a little bit darker here, so I'm going to fill that in. That's giving that a little bit of dimension as well. Back to the shadow here. This has got a little bit more value to it as well, so we'll get that colored in there with the graphite. The last thing I want to show you is this. This is a eraser. So it's an eraser, but it looks like a pencil. And here's the eraser up here. Now these are really great. I have some of them in my classroom. I don't have enough for everybody. You can get them at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. You could even send away for them if you really wanted to get one, or use the edge of an existing eraser. Maybe the eraser tops that you get for your pencils. They have a nice sharp edge. You could use that as well. These are really great, especially for this, because you can use it as like if you're drawing, but what you're actually doing is you're taking the pigment back out, and that's going to create these really strong highlights. I can see really strong highlights right here, and here at the edges of these. Remember, this is metal. There's some here, there's some highlights over here, and there's a really strong one over here where I'm looking. So those are the areas I'm going to want to concentrate on, bringing those values a lot lighter. And it also helps to separate the pieces. Now see, this piece up here from where I'm looking actually has some highlight there, but then it drops down and it's got a really dark value right here. So metal is that way. You're going to see all these areas of light and dark when you have metal, and that's what makes it look like metal. Your highlights are just as important as your shadows. I'm seeing a little bit deeper of a shadow here than I am in the rest of it. This is very, very dark here. And I suspect it's because my light is coming from the left-hand side. So my light is actually coming from this way. So it's making the shadows, it's throwing the shadows that way. It's making things darker on that side. And so I would just keep going with what I'm doing here. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. This is the way you draw. Nothing is ever done in one line and you're done. Okay, you always need to be going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I'm going to stop the video now and let you get started on what you need to do. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me through Google Classroom. And we're meeting every day. So if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them for you. Just reach out to me. Okay.